Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to some EVE Online, and in today's video I want to share with you guys a PvP Stratios that I've prepared. Now I didn't get to use it just yet, but as I was making videos about the other pirate faction cruisers, I was mostly focusing on PvE with those, and some of the viewers actually asked where is the love for the Stratios, and here it is. I'll quickly start by sharing you guys the fit that I'm gonna try. Keep one thing in mind, this is intended to be a PvP ship, so I went very cheap with the fit. I just wanted to do what I intend for it to do, but not go overboard when it comes to the costs. So let's start with the high slots. Of course, the reason why I do love the Stratios is because it is a Tech 1 ship that can use Covert Ops cloaking device too. Absolutely amazing. It gives you this opportunity, or the chance at least, to dictate when you're gonna take a fight and when you want to bow out. After that, I chose core probe launchers and 8 core scanner probes. Pretty cheap setup that will get me most wormholes. If I'm actively gonna look for a fight, it'll probably be in wormhole space. When it comes to the next high slots, I have two medium energy neutralizers. Here is the cheapness that comes into play. It's two Tech 1s that are extremely cheap. Still, these will neutralize especially smaller targets. You could go with more expensive stuff, with better stuff, but here honestly I don't think that a small amount of energy neutralizing is actually going to make or break the fight when it comes to the ones that I'm intending to have with the Stratios. And then in the final high slot, I chose a drone link augmenter because all my damage is gonna come from drones, and so of course getting those into better shape is always a good idea. When it comes to the medium slots, I chose a Tech 1 micro warp drive. Of course, I need the speed if I want to catch something, and then this may not be the best choice, but I also chose a warp disruptor. The reason is the range. I think one thing that can be a problem, especially on smaller targets with this, what I'm mostly considering, stuff like destroyers and frigates, when you land or if they come through a gate and you're out of range, then the warp disruptor is actually something that gives you a 20-kilometer range to maybe surprise your target, give you those few seconds that they can't warp off. They're a bit confused, you can micro warp drive in, and then the double web comes in, which is of course intended to allow my Stratios to keep up with enemy frigates, especially even if they have a disruptor that can disable my micro warp drive. If I can web them in return at disruptor range, they should be slow enough that if they try to get out of my 20-kilometer range, I'll still have the chance to reboost my micro warp drive and again catch up to them, web with them. So this is basically the idea behind the long point and then a double web. Final mid slot, of course, a small capacitor booster. The idea here is mostly to allow me to keep having the energy neutralizers running, keep the webs running, and maybe if needed burst a micro warp drive. But it's really not intended to be used for tanking all that actively. When it comes to the low slots, I did decide to put in a decent amount of tank. I actually feel like the drone damage can be enough to get on top of anything that's smaller than the Stratios, and I would say any Tech 1 cruiser as well. So I chose an energized adaptive nanomembrane. Maybe I should switch that out for a damage control, I'm not entirely sure, but this is just what I went for as I quickly made myself a PvP Stratios. Next mid slot, 1600mm rolled tungsten compact plates. Again, pretty cheap, but it should give me a decent amount of HP so that I can actually survive for a bit longer if it comes to like a cruiser on cruiser fight or something like that. Then reactive armor hardener. I actually think that this can be very strong in PvP when people are using specialized ammo like explosive ammo. This should allow me again to survive a little bit longer without actually needing to use too much cap on an active tank. Next up, we do have a drone damage amplifier 2, of course, to increase the drone damage. Final low slot is a medium armor repair 2. This is not really intended to be used that often. It's basically if I get into a drawn out fight and it's very close. The hope is that I can do a final cap booster charge, get a few reps off, and then finish off my opponent. That's basically the philosophy behind this. It's not meant to be an active tank that keeps running all the time or keeps me at full armor HP. Nope, that's what I have a buffer for. But if I need that little bit of an edge, maybe a final cap boost and a few reps can push me over that edge. And finally, for the rigs, we have 3 Trimark armor pumps again for the armor tank there. Of course, the most important part is where is all the damage going to come from, and this is where the Stratios also excels at. It has this huge 400 cubic meter drone bay. Again, my aim here is mostly smaller targets than me, so frigates, destroyers, possibly cruisers that I'm pretty sure I can handle. This is why I went with 5 Hobgoblin 2s and 5 Warrior 2s against very fast frigates. I'll probably want to try and use the Warrior 2s. If I go bigger against something like a cruiser, 4 Ogre 2s should be able to handle the situation quite well. I also have 4 Warden 2s in this, and that's a bit of, I live right next to Providence. It's been extremely calm in Providence, but if a fight were to start there, maybe if I somehow jump into a fleet fight or close to a fleet fight, but I don't want to get right into the thick of things, but I still want to participate, then maybe dropping some Warden 2s, trying to snipe targets off at a longer distance while they're engaged with maybe Providence forces. It could be useful. It's really going to be extremely situational though, but it was worth it to me to invest the 3 million in a set of Warden 2s. And then of course, because of the big drone bay, you have the ability to take ECM drones. If you end up stuck against a target that you can't destroy, and he can't really destroy you all that well either, he's waiting for reinforcements, then the ECM drones can at least give you a chance to escape if you're lucky on the ECM roll of the dice. So I think that that's always very handy. It is a last-ditch effort to try and escape, of course. It's not exactly the bravest thing to have in the hold, but since the Stratios has that option, I do like it. I think it adds to the survivability for something like solo PvP players that know that a big group is going to come on them. Then of course you can try to get out using some ECM if you're busy in a one-on-one or something like that. And then of course also some salvage drones that doesn't cost anything, and if you're lucky with a bit of good salvage, you might actually earn your ship back. So yeah, there you go guys, that is the Stratios PvP feat that I'm going to try to do. Now I've did a little bit of roaming around the trade hubs to try and find maybe some criminals or something like that. I also kept an eye on activity in Providence, but it's been extremely low there in the last few weeks, even months I would say. I used to see enemy fleets that ran in Providence, and then they lost an engagement, so they retreated through Dital. You often had criminals amongst those, so there were opportunities to maybe grab a fight if you have a fast response ship like the Stratios, but in the last few months I've not seen any activity like that. So this is more of a bit of a preparation Stratios. If I want to get into some PvP or I notice that something is happening close by, this is a ship I could quickly jump into, and I'm completely willing to lose that. As you can see, of course, the fit is not blinked out. There's some Tech 2, some Tech 1. There's no faction stuff in this. This is something that is easily replaceable again and again. So why am I going to use Stratios for PvP and not for PvE? You might ask that question, right? I bought the Ortrus and I tried PvE with that. I bought Cinnabal, tried PvE with that. Why am I not doing that with the Stratios? The answer is very simple. The Ishtar. The Ishtar is just better because it can use 5 large drones instead of 4 large drones, and just for that reason there is zero reason to take a Stratios when you can take an Ishtar. And so I think unfortunately that means that the Stratios is forced a bit into the PvP role, because outside of very risky space like Wormhole space, where the Stratios still makes sense, you are going to prefer the Ishtar in almost any scenario. But I am a pretty cheap guy when it comes to EVE Online. I'm pretty risk averse, and so when it comes to PvP, I'm always looking for cheap stuff that I think could hit above its weight. I prefer Tech 1 ships to Tech 2 and faction stuff. The Stratios is the one exception to that rule. It is a faction cruiser, but it is basically a Tech 1 cruiser that can do covert ops, that has this versatility of drone damage, that's got a really nice slot layout as well that allow you to go more damage, more tank, more E-war. So this is really the one ship that I would say yeah, is perfect for PvP, even for players like myself that are maybe looking for more solo action. It's also much more accessible for newer players or some of the corp members that don't have that many skill points. And from that perspective, yeah, the Stratios for PvP, in my opinion, makes much more sense than almost any other cruiser, let alone pirate faction cruiser. You have this covert ops cloak, which really does give you a much better chance of dictating the engagement, of taking the fights that you want rather than being jumped by someone else that's in a much more expensive covert ship, or that has guys on backup and problems like that. So this is the Stratios that I'm going to test out in PvP when I spot a good opportunity for that. Can't really tell you guys when that's going to happen. That's all part of the sandbox, of course. I would love to hear your comments on the fit. If you see glaring mistakes, feel free to post that in the comments. I know there's some of you that will also want to come up with alternative fits for me. Honestly, I prefer you didn't put those in the comments. If you really want to share a fit with me or maybe the other viewers, put that in an email. I'll maybe check it out. If I think it's great and I find some use for it, maybe I'll even make a video about that if you want. But when it comes to comments that have entire fits of EVE Online ships in them, they become quite chaotic to actually fully understand. So I'd prefer an email when it comes to complete fits. If you have any suggestions or remarks that you want to make about the fit that I've got going here, feel free to post those in the comments, of course. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. I got an extra PvP ship ready. We'll see if I ever get to use it, but for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.